Believe it or not, spring is coming. And so that means that homeowners are going to be walking into big box stores, grabbing some lawn products and hoping for a quick fix. And there is one product that gets more hype than just about anything else this time of year. Of course, I'm talking about weed and feeds. Let's get into this week's podcast. You are listening to the Lawns and Life podcast, the show built for DIYers who like to learn, grow, and have a little bit of fun along the way. I'm your host, Devin, the DIY lawn coach, and as always, thank you so much for coming back for another week. Well, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for coming back. This week, guys, we are talking about weed and feeds. Because as spring approaches, homeowners are going to be heading to those big box stores, reaching for products. And I just think that there is a better way. And so that's what we're going to be talking about, weed and feeds. Now, look, I get it. I know why people buy weed and feeds. They sound great. One bag, one application, kill the weeds, feed my lawn. What could possibly be better? Right? Like what could be better? You feel like you're saving time, you're saving money, you've really simplified the process. Sounds great, right? But here's the reality for most homeowners. Weed and feeds are probably the most widely misused products out there. And they are extremely popular. You walk into any big box store, you're going to see them all piled up. So why do I say that most homeowners are rarely applying them correctly? Because here's the deal. They don't understand how a weed and feed works. A weed and feed relies on the weed control sticking to the surface of the weed. So that means that the tissue of the plant needs to be moist or damp so that those little granules, they stick or they cling to the weeds and then they dissolve. They can be taken up by the plant and then the plant dies. Right? That's the weed control. Now the fertilizer is fine. It can be spread. It doesn't necessarily have to land on the plant. It could be dropped to the soil. It'll get dissolved and be taken up by the plant. No problem. But it's the weed control that usually is the issue. So here is what most homeowners do. They run to the store, they come home, they throw it down, don't read the directions. The lawn could be dry, maybe the middle of the day. Maybe parts of their lawn are still wet from the morning. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But what ends up happening is it leads homeowners to maybe feeling frustrated that it didn't work as intended. Maybe you had some success in certain parts of your lawn, but maybe not in others. And so it just leads to frustration when in reality, there's nothing wrong with the weed and feed. The weed and feed, if used properly, is a great product. But the problem is that it's not used properly. Here's the other issue I have when it comes to weed and feeds, and this one is a big one for me. It means a lot to me. And it's that you're treating areas of your lawn that don't need to be treated. You're applying a weed control in an area of your lawn that doesn't actually have weeds. Because when you're applying a weed and feed, you are broadcasting herbicide across your entire lawn. Because it also has fertilizer in the bag, you have to spread it across your lawn. Otherwise, you're wasting the product. You can't target one area versus another. It would defeat the whole purpose of the product. So you're putting fertilizer and herbicide on healthy parts of your lawn, maybe areas that are weed-free, that don't need it. And to me, that is an unnecessary use of chemical. You're stressing out the turf, you're wasting money, you're wasting time when you don't need to be doing that. And for beginners who gravitate towards that product, we would much rather teach them that that is the wrong habit. That's the wrong mentality to have. Reacting to blanket spraying and targeting, what you think is the problem is teaching you the wrong habit. Truth be told, if you have a big weed problem, weed and feed is probably not the solution that you need. You need. There's a bigger underlying problem that you have if you have a lot of weeds like that, and that's you need to kind of change your approach. So here's what I would much rather see you do when it comes to a weed and feed. Instead of chasing convenience, I would much rather see you split those applications up, apply a fertilizer, and then apply a weed and feed. Not necessarily together, split them up. So apply your fertilizer with the intention of feeding your lawn and getting it thick and healthy and color and, getting a beautiful color and just overall health, right? Like that's why we're feeding our lawn. And feeding it consistently all over the whole year is going to lead to you having better results, right? Because we all know that the biggest weed deterrent that you have in your lawn is a thick, healthy stand of turf. That is the biggest weed control product you got out there. Okay? When it comes to treating your weeds, I would much rather see you use a liquid application and do it separately and only target the weeds that exist. So properly identify them and make sure that those are the weeds that you want to attack. Using a liquid is going to give you better coverage, it's going to give you better absorption, and it's going to lead to you having better results. You're going to be happier. Your lawn's going to be happier. Your wallet's going to be happier. Like, isn't that what we're after? Like when we're applying that weed and feed, like we're looking for a simple solution. Well, the simple solution is right there. But this one, the one that I'm offering, is not only a simple solution, but it's an effective one that will actually deliver you the results that you're looking for. Because it's a liquid, we don't have to worry about the grass plant being wet. It's already wet from the liquid, and it's going to be absorbed by the plant. It's going to have a much higher efficacy rate. It's going to kill the weeds better. It's going to work out better. And you're not spraying product where it doesn't need it. You're not spraying parts of your lawn that don't need it. You're paying for weed control and you're broadcasting it in area. Because look, fertilizer is cheap. Fertilizer is cheap for the most part. It's that weed control that's the expensive part of that bag. And you're wasting it because you're putting it in areas that you don't need. So if you're targeting your weed control, you're going to be, again, more effective. You're going to have better control. You're going to be less frustrated. So if you're new to lawn care, again, there's nothing wrong with the weed and feeds. It's just that people don't understand how they work. And I guess the overarching theme for me is there is very rarely an all-in-one miracle product that's going to change your time. A beautiful looking lawn isn't going to come from shortcuts. It's going to come from you timing your applications properly, identifying your issues and being consistent about feeding and mowing and watering over the long haul. It's not a one and done and call it a day. You have to be consistent. You're going to feed your lawn, not just in the spring, but a couple times in the spring and in the summer and a couple times in the fall. It's that consistency that's going to deliver you the results, not the instant fix or the weed and feed, because that's kind of a bigger issue of what's going on. So feed the lawn with intention and treat the weeds with intention. I promise you're going to get better results with a whole lot less frustration, a whole lot less guesswork, Again, if weed and feeds have worked for you in the past, that's great. They work. But for the average homeowner, there is a better way to accomplish the goals that you're seeking. So thank you so much for checking out the podcast this week. I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you have a comment or a question, please leave me that down below. I will try to answer it as quickly as I can. I can't wait to see you guys next week. My name is Devin. I'm the DIY Lawn Coach, and I can't wait to see you in the lawn. Peace.